Walk into any Indian home during Diwali, and alongside the traditional sweets, you will likely find a box of Cadbury Celebrations or dairy milk. Over the decades, this brand has embedded itself into the center of Indian festive life. However, the brand was originally designed for a very different purpose. Exactly 200 years ago, Cadbury was established as a tool to combat the chaotic drinking culture of 19th century England. John Cadbury was a devout Quaker who viewed rampant alcohol abuse as a crisis of public health. He believed society needed a practical, non-intoxicating alternative. In 1824, he opened a small shop selling liquid cocoa, but the product was flawed. The raw drink was naturally bitter, heavy, and priced far beyond the reach of the working-class people he intended to reach. To shift public behavior, Cadbury had to re-engineer the drink to be affordable and palatable. This realization began 2 centuries of systematic problem-solving. By 1861, the company was struggling. John's sons, Richard and George, took over a business that was losing market share to Swiss competitors who produced smoother, more popular chocolate. The brothers identified a chemical hurdle in their raw material. Cocoa beans naturally contain a heavy fat called cocoa butter. Too much of it makes the final product dense, bitter, and difficult to enjoy. Their mechanical solution was a hydraulic press that crushed raw beans under extreme pressure, separating the heavy fat to leave behind refined cocoa powder. With the bitter fat removed, they could mix far more milk and sugar into the cocoa without ruining the texture. This mechanical breakthrough led to the 1905 launch of the Dairy Milk Bar, which was marketed specifically on its high dairy content. By refining the cocoa's chemical structure, the brothers salvaged a dying company and established the technical standard for mass-market milk chocolate. The World Wars brought the next crisis. Global shipping for raw materials stopped, and the military draft depleted the factory's workforce. Cadbury pivoted to support the national effort, converting 2 of their factory buildings into active hospitals for wounded soldiers. During the Second World War, the crisis deepened as the British government rationed sugar and dairy, making traditional chocolate production nearly impossible. To stay operational, Cadbury engineered ration chocolate. This version used less sugar and cocoa to meet strict government mandates while keeping the production lines moving. Integrating their supply chain directly into the war effort transformed an economic disaster into a deep reservoir of patriotic brand loyalty. In 1948, the company expanded into a newly independent India, but they faced an immediate resource gap. The country had no surplus milk and did not grow cocoa. Cadbury initially relied on imported milk powder. They used this substitute until India's domestic dairy production eventually scaled up to meet their needs. To fix the cocoa shortage, they built a local industry from scratch. In 1965, Cadbury introduced cocoa farming to Kerala, training local farmers to cultivate the crop in the tropical climate. Even with a local supply chain, they faced a cultural barrier. Adults preferred traditional sweets, viewing chocolate as a child's novelty. The 1994 Asli Swad Zindagi Ka campaign addressed this by showing adults enjoying chocolate during cricket matches, aiming to make it an acceptable treat for all ages. By building a domestic supply chain and shifting adult perceptions, Cadbury began competing directly with regional sweets for a permanent place in Indian celebrations. In 2003, this progress was nearly erased when worms were discovered inside dairy milk wrappers in Maharashtra. Sales dropped sharply, and the company's net profit fell by 37%. While the company hired a celebrity ambassador to help restore their image, the underlying issue required more than an apology. Cadbury addressed the product's physical vulnerability by re-engineering their factory lines. They introduced double-layer packaging with a sealed inner foil to protect the chocolate. This structural update reclaimed public trust. Within 2 years, Cadbury returned to a 70% market share. Cadbury India now functions as a primary driver of the brand's global growth, holding a market position that allows it to shape how celebrations are gifted and consumed. The longevity of the brand suggests that survival depends less on a secret recipe and more on a persistent habit of adapting both factory machines and cultural narratives to meet the next crisis.